we're back. We're moving into a second conversation.
Yes, and we are getting an update from the University of Belize Faculty and Staff Union. And joining us for this morning's discussion, we have Dr. Saqui, who is the president of the Faculty and Staff Union. We also have with us Dr. June Young, who is the membership coordinator for the union and also faculty representative to the board. And we also are joined by Christopher DeShield, who is the general secretary of the union. So good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
And thank you very much for joining us and for giving us an update. For our viewers, we know that there is an ongoing situation at the university in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic and the economic fallout that has occurred, which, like all other institutions, has affected them significantly. And charting the way forward, there has been a major concern that the Faculty and Staff Union has not been given enough of a meaningful role in the decision-making process going forward. Now, we know that yesterday there was a meeting between the union and the administration of UB. So perhaps we can start our conversation by sort of updating everyone on how that meeting went.
Okay, a pleasant good morning to everyone. Before I get to your question,
sure.
Let me just send a pleasant good morning to all my members, to all the union members, to the faculty, especially the staff who are at work today, and I'm sure that they're doing the best they can. I'll also good morning to all our students whose education is pretty much on the line, if we can put it in context here. And of course, to the country of Belize, parents, and all those concerned for the students of the University of Belize. We are indeed in a very dire situation. The issue of us being included is still a very big concern to all of us. The union has been placed on the sideline, and we're being told that we cannot negotiate, we cannot do anything that is going to actually make a good way forward where we feel that we're a part of the process and we're fully consulted. We have stated our claims and we have made it very clear that this is something we want to do. And again, we have to reiterate this, that this is not something that we are going to take lightly. We are seeing this now, and we're calling it the effects of the global pandemic. Again, we have to agree that there is going to be an effect, there's going to be impacts, and we're going to make some adjustments. Yeah. But to note something here, the finances that have been shared with us is that of 2 years ago. And that is primarily the large basis of the decisions being made. So in order for us to erase all our doubts, to take all our concerns, and to make sure that we are in a transparent process, we cannot believe that this exigency is happening just because of the global pandemic. Yeah. If the finances we're going to look at to determine this is 2 years ago. So it is in prudent effort that we actually look at these finances up to current, so we can decide that this is going to happen. Yeah. Yesterday, we were invited to a finance meeting, and we had two very specific claims. One, recognize us as a union, so we can proceed with negotiation if that is absolutely principal to your mode of communication. The chairman of the board told us that, yeah, he recognizes us as a union, just like he would a Christian Workers Union or BEL or any other kind of union out there, but he will not negotiate with us because we do not have that certificate with the signature of the chairman of the tripartite body to say that we are actually certified. Yeah. It is really difficult to hear that, and it's very frustrating and of course very provoking to us, because we're here in good faith. We're here to save the university. We're here to make an effort so that we ensure that the education of our country continues uninterrupted. I think we have been placed in a bad position, not because we want to do this, but because we truly believe that we are on the right. We are requesting that the protocol established in the Faculty and Staff Handbook be followed. And this has also been told that, yeah, we're not going to follow that thing because it's going to take too long. We asked for the finances, and we were told that, no, we cannot get the finances. So, ladies and gentlemen, and country of Belize, students, and everyone else involved, this is a very difficult situation, and we are waiting to hear from the board. We made a proposal, which is, could you at least allow us to do this, so that we can have an auditor you agree on, we agree on, that we can put to review this thing. We're hoping to hear from the board. We're hoping that they're going to say, yeah, this is a way forward. But still, that does not answer the question of our procedures, because we do not know at what point we are in this negotiation. We don't know where we are. The handbook outlines steps, as we have talked about and we have shared with you all. I don't know where we are in this point right now, and it seems to be that we're at the final point, which is the final decision of the board. And whatever that means, and that invokes other regulations that are outside of the university, and labor laws and all that stuff, which I'm hearing now, according to what we were told yesterday, is that every single worker will have the right to seek redress if they're not happy with the contract or the outcome of whatever decision the board makes. But that will have to be dealt with individually. We cannot deal with it as a union, which essentially is saying that I don't know how we will, if you can't do it as a union, I don't know how we'll be able to do it as individuals. And I think that is something that I think is unfair to all our faculty members, to all our staff members, and by extension, the university. So
I want to get in some of the points here, Dr. Saqui, if you allow me, because I think that you have brought up a number of points, and we need to unpack them. First of all is the finances. One of the requests being made by the union is that you want to have access to the financials of the university so that you can be able to weigh in on the proposed cuts that need to be made and how you can reduce the expenses that take place at the UB, how you put together your recommendations. So the president answered that yesterday, and he's saying that they don't have a practice of sharing unaudited financials. So they can provide to you, I believe, up to 2018, 2019 cycle.
Right.
And it seems that what you are saying is that is still what you are allowed access to up to this point.
Right, that's correct.
Okay. And this information is not enough for you to be able to put your recommendations forward. Why?
Say that again.
Why is it that the 2018, 2019 financials are not, why is it that report is not enough for you to be able to make recommendations?
Okay, let me answer that very quickly.
Yeah.
Of course, the 2019, 2018 is relevant. I'm sorry, 2017, 2018 is relevant.
Yeah.
We can see trends, we can see things that happen, we can see how the university ended, if they ended in positive or negative and all that stuff. We can look at those numbers. We can also see some of that in 2018, 2019. But the real impact of COVID-19 did not come to Belize, we can say. And we can agree that we did not see any of that until January, all the way until March, and then more intensely from March until now. So we know that the university is watching its finances on a daily basis. So I'm sure that there is financial records, monthly statements of cash inflow and cash outflow, where we can actually look at these things. So I feel that these are important information. I'm going to let my other colleagues.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would just like to add that the request for finances and financial disclosure is only a part of the consultative process that's outlined in the handbook.
Yeah.
And the chief issue here is that we are on no agreed upon protocol. There's no agreed upon process that we're following. It's been ignored. And this process was shared with the president prior to any declaration of financial exigency. There are steps in this process that would ensure meaningful participation of faculty and staff. And the finance is only one part of this transparent consultative process that is designed for faculty and staff to have a voice in the decisions of the university. And what seems at issue here is the right of the faculty and staff to participate meaningfully in the decisions that the university will take with regard to this specific issue of mitigating the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and those financial implications. An associated issue is the presence of our representative on the board. Both of these things it appears to be an exclusion of the faculty and staff voice in this process. And the union is enjoying such support at the moment from the faculty and staff precisely because the faculty and staff feel that their voice has been excluded. There's been no meaningful consultation. And so that is why they're looking to the union for support in getting their demands across. And the demand is very simple. It's just so that we can participate in these decisions in order to cope with the effects of the financial effects of this of the virus. And it just seems mind-boggling for me.
How do you respond to the president when he says that one, he didn't know the protocol existed in the handbook, and that in fact the other mechanisms in the handbook have never actually been enforced?
Yes. So that was very bizarre for us as well to hear that because he was ignorant of the process in this handbook, therefore it must be thrown out. No, there's great reasons for this process. It establishes the presence of the faculty and staff in this process of deliberation and consultation, and it's by this means that you can get buy-in from the faculty and staff. I don't understand how you would want to go through, weather a storm and a crisis without the support of the faculty and staff. So if they're going to make some sacrifices, we'd want to know that the sacrifices are meaningful sacrifices. And as for the point that of the ignorance of the protocol, the union was the one that initiated engagement with the president, and we shared all of the steps. We wrote it in a letter summarizing all of the steps, pointing to the relevant section in the handbook, and mentioned the fact that the handbook itself is approved by the Board of Trustees. So we're unsure why is the Board of Trustees ignoring this process when the process itself has been approved by the board. We just cannot understand why they would ignore these things when this is the proper process that we ought to be following to weather a storm.
If I may add very quickly on that point, we wrote to the president on June 12th, and the faculty and staff handbook calls for 21 days for the process to follow. For more than 21 days now, we have spent a lot of time on deciding whether that protocol can be followed or not. It does not invalidate the process if the president is unaware of it or ignorant of it. The process is meaningful, it's good, and it ensures consultation, it ensures the participation of the faculty, and it makes sure that whatever proposal we made would be equitable at the best form possible. And that is what we're seeking right now.
Yes, and perhaps Dr. Young, you can also join in and give your perspective, especially not only on the part of perhaps the general membership of the union, but also in your position as a representative on the board.
Okay, thank you. Good morning again.
Good morning.
Yes, it is a fact that I have served one term on the board, 1 year, and that year has expired. But there are things that are not, I would say, that are not in our favor that could have been avoided. For example, my complete tenure on the board should be 3 years. I have served 1 year. In the past, other reps that have served on the board after your 1 year has expired, then it's through the VP office that the Ministry of Education is reminded that this person has completed 1 year, and so the minister needs to extend that appointment for another 1 year, which will be 2 years, and then up to 3 years.
Yeah.
Knowing this was brought to my attention on the meeting that we had on the Wednesday night before the Thursday meeting, which was to be held on the 2nd of July, where recommendations were about to be tabled. And we need to make mention here that how meetings happen at the board, the act speaks to, let me find it here, validity of acts and proceedings of the board. It says that all acts and proceedings of the board shall be valid, notwithstanding any vacancy in the membership of the board, or any defect in the appointment of any member thereof. So they are aware of this section of the act that speaks to validity of the acts and proceeds of the board meetings. So the meeting could have occurred. The meeting could have proceeded because we had 8 members there, and 8 members of the board forms the quorum, and decisions are made by majority vote. So them doing that and bringing that to my attention on Wednesday, if they had wanted the rep to participate, they could have said, okay, this is being brought to my attention, and all of a sudden, I don't know why that was brought to their attention on Wednesday. They could have said, okay, we need to postpone this meeting until we can send that letter to the minister, and the minister can extend the appointment.
Help me understand this just a bit, Dr. Young. You are saying that the letter, I mean, what is the difference between when the letter was received by the university versus when you were informed? Because you're saying very clearly you were informed the night before the day the meeting was to take place, where the recommendations would have been put forward.
Okay, the letter was sent to the president on the 1st of July, right? That would have been the Wednesday.
Okay.
I received a copy of that letter the same 1st of July at 8:30 in the night via my email to say that the ministry has now been aware that my tenure, the 1 year, because over the 3 years period, Marlene, it may be staggered according to the act. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years for you to get your final 3 years. And mind you, I'm saying that in the past, no rep have been elected and go through the process of election again after the 1 year has expired. All that is done is the ministry is notified and your appointment is extended for another 1 year, right?
Yeah.
So I got that notification.
Which I think is fair for the union to then say, why was that not done, especially given the circumstances of COVID where people can't even get together, and the other priorities are far more important.
Right, right. And that's why we are saying that it is not an act of good faith, because given all this, so I had to invited to the meeting on Thursday, but I had to literally fight in that meeting and ask for the meeting to be postponed for, and a date was agreed for this Friday, July 10th. At that meeting also, I identified my faculty and staff the very Wednesday night when I received the email of this strange occurrence. So we jumped into action and we said, okay, we can conduct a poll online and ask faculty to re-endorse my representation on the board. That was done. At the meeting, I said to them, we have conducted a poll. Here are the results of the poll, and that the members agreed that I be reinstated.
Yeah.
The board did not want to take the result of that poll. They were saying that they are not sure that it's only faculty who participated in the poll, because according to our election process, it should be only full-time faculty who should participate in election that has to do with the faculty rep on the board. So they did not want to accept the poll. So I said, okay, if we do not want to do that, then let's follow the process then, and let the re-endorsement and the election takes place through the VP as that is the normal procedure.
So
now, mind you, this election should happen over 2 weeks. 2 weeks it would take for us to undergo elections in order for us to again notify the ministry that this person has been elected and we are asking for appointment on the board. Yeah. And like I said in the past, that was not done. After your 1 year expire, the ministry is notified and the reappointment gets extended, because your total period to serve on the board is 3 years.
So Dr. Young, right now you have observer status, right?
Yes.
Okay. And is there any other representative on the board from the faculty, or who would be able, if you're not there, to relay back to the faculty and staff as the decision's made?
No, we have a student rep. We have a rep from the NTUCD. and I would ask them, but I have never missed a meeting, Marlene. And one meeting I missed, I believe, and it was in December. So it would only be if they are so pleased to say, well, this is what happened at the board meeting. Other than that, we would have to wait for the president to come back to the UB community and say, this is what happened at the board, this was what was approved.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I would just like to add that it seems, given when you hear all of the energy that Dr. Young is talking about, that just trying to get due process and transparency, it's the same energy that we have been putting into having to work so hard to get simple things like due process and transparency when these should be givens in the equation. I think we ought to be spending our time engaging in larger conversations, about the future of the university. And another issue is, what precedent does this all set? Because when the university encounters financial crises in the future, we pray that it doesn't, but if it does, what happens in these future crises, right? We need to ensure that a proper procedure, proper protocol is followed, so that we have clear expectations, a roadmap for navigating stressful times, especially in the future. So I'm concerned about what precedent this sets, this ignoring of the faculty and staff contributions to these issues. What precedent does that set for the future for the university? We need to ensure that the faculty and staff have a voice in deliberating over these matters, that they are able to review recommendations before they're tabled by the board. And all of these things are outlined in this process, which is why we're insisting that that process be invoked.
So
there's
several issues on the table, and I know we don't have the time to go through all of them. One of the primary ones is that there was a protocol that should have been followed. It wasn't. There is currently a situation where the faculty representative on the board is not being recognized because they're saying her term is up. And then the third, and really the biggest issue right now for you, where from the outsider looking in, it seems that you don't have control over the situation, is the status of the union itself. And we discussed this at length yesterday, and it seems that I believe the chairman said they've spoken to council on it, and essentially if there is no official certification, that they can't recognize the union as the representative and bargaining agent for the faculty. Now, Dr. Saqui, I saw yesterday in your interview, you said you've written to the Ministry of Labor to somehow get some official documentation that didn't happen when you had that planned ceremony. Where are you with that?
Right. Well, there's a small good news, and it's a very small one, because again, timing is very important.
Yeah.
I guess because of the help of communicating with them and making this taking our case to the public, they have now sent us a notice yesterday evening that the certification is now rescheduled again for the 29th of July. This is something that I wrote to them this morning and telling them that this is very provoking, because by that time, all decisions that the university is going to make without our negotiation will have happened, because our powers then doesn't become into effect, and it's not automatic according to the board. Even with that certificate, we have to then negotiate a memorandum of understanding before we start to do any of this stuff. So it seems to me now that while we're excited to that, it would have been much nicer.
So you write to the Ministry of Labor requesting some sort of documentation that legitimized, because the letter informing them of the ceremony said that you've met the requirements. There's a ceremony that will take place to certify the union. So it's like, I think somebody likened it to when you get your completion letter at the end of university before you get your degree, something along those lines. But
that's precisely what it is. Again, the process is very clear.
Yeah.
The last step in the process is for us to have what we call a survey, where the university employment list is compared versus those that who have registered and paid registration for our union, right? So that has to have 50 plus 1. That means that at least 50% or 50% plus 1 employees match our list for us to qualify. after the process was done, and with the representative of the university on hand, and the tripartite body and ourselves sitting there, that was passed with flying colors. We have more than 80% of the I think it's like 87% of the employees of the University of Belize faculty and staff were registered as members. That's the last thing, and that's what the letter stated, that this is now done, and you're now certified and should be and must be acknowledged. I think it's let me see if I can find the letter here and read it out for you. It said this is what the letter says. As such, the tripartite body is inviting you. This is a letter to the University of Belize. As such, the tripartite body is inviting you to acknowledge the University of Belize and staff union as the certified and sole bargaining agent for the faculty and staff of the University of Belize. I'll go on to read you to show you. I don't see anything. Remember, the chairman was saying that there shall be. I don't see any shall. So the next paragraph says, in this regard, we are available for a signing ceremony on January 29th, 2020 at 9 a.m. at the Belize City Labor Office. Kindly confirm your availability. We congratulate you and your organization for this significant achievement, which is an indicative of excellent collaboration. Sincerely, Mr. Gabriel Martinez, a chairman, tripartite body, copied to the University of Belize HR department. So I don't know where that question comes from of the where we shall be or whatever. Yes, we're going to a ceremony. Yes, we'll get a certificate. A lot of people go to school, they get a completion letter, they ask for the transcript, and the certificate is mailed to them. Yeah. They have met certification. They're qualified. They can do the work.
Yeah. So just to move it forward. So you said that the current communication from the Ministry of Labor is that they are open to doing a signing of the certificate on the 29th of this month.
Right.
You called it provoking. Why is that?
It is provoking because we have asked for this thing for the last 3 months. From since February, we repeatedly asked for it. We have received no comments. Now that we're in this situation and we know that the sticking point is our ability to negotiate, they're going to tell us, okay, we'll give it to you, but maybe after the negotiation is finished. That is what it appears to me. And I'm sorry, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know what my other colleagues feel, but to me, this is something that is saying to our union that, you will be coming in after the game is finished.
And if that happens, or if there's an attempt then to do that, what then is going to be the position with the union?
And again, as we have said, this is something that we are being pushed and we've been sidelined. And this is very difficult to deal with because we have a constituent to represent. We have a membership. And I will tell you very clearly, I met with them last night, and we might have to meet tonight again, and the night after this, and the night after that, and we'll continue meeting because they want answers. Mm-hmm. We don't know the proposals of the president. We don't know anything at all what he's presenting. I don't know how I will be affected. I don't know how the cleaner down on who gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go and sweep the floor is going to be affected. We don't know how that cleaner's child is going to be affected. Will that person's child if you have a child, you go to school you get a relief to go to school for free at the university. It means if you get rid of that person or cut that person might not be able to send their children at school because we don't know how that's going to be affected because their status of being employed would change very quickly. So there's a lot of things happening here. And so we take our mandate from the membership, and the membership will tell us what we need to do. And I will let my colleagues add more to this point.
Yeah. Can I add in terms of leadership and consultation? The president had one meeting with the UB community concerning this whole issue of financial exigency. That first meeting happened in the beginning of June, where he threw out the numbers at us and he asked for recommendation. And that was the beginning of June. He did that through a survey. We don't know who participated in constructing the survey. We felt that this survey was poorly constructed. Nevertheless, the president said 200 plus of our faculty and staff responded to the survey. Now, as a leader, to me, in my mind, and I'm only speaking from a leadership perspective, as a leader, you need to go back now to the UB community or to your community and say, okay, you have responded to the survey, these are the results. Or I noticed that everybody did not respond to the survey. We had less than 50% or more than 50%. How do you feel about that survey? So we have to look at the president saying that he has consulted, but we have to question the meaning of consultation. We feel that these consultations are superficial because we only had one such hearing or presentation from the president. The last meeting we had was on the 29th of June. That was the Monday before this Thursday meeting when recommendations were to be tabled. At that meeting, we had we had deans and directors, and 3 members of the union was invited, myself, Dr. DeShield, and Dr. Saqui. At that meeting again, I told the president as the faculty and staff rep on the board, I said, President, the faculty is uneasy. The faculty is uncomfortable. We know that this meeting is coming for Thursday and faculty have absolutely no idea what are those recommendations that will be tabled. He said, my friends, I cannot give you any details, but I know the big elephant in the room is redundancy. No, even at that Thursday meeting, we didn't get anything in writing to say this is what will happen. We got on the agenda that the agenda for the meeting, recommendations will be tabled. So I didn't know what those recommendations are. I still don't know, and faculty and staff still have no idea. So it's just true. Yesterday on the morning show, the president make reference to a 25% cut in salaries. We have no idea because we didn't get anything in writing. Yeah. And I told him, I said, President, faculty and staff are uneasy. So what he is calling consultation, if consultations were done properly, then we should have participated in those recommendations and we would know what those recommendations are. So when the board vote and approve, we know it will be A, B, C, D, and we are not surprised because we have participated in those recommendations and we are willing to undergo these sacrifices that the university must take. So it speaks to leadership, it speaks to proper consultation.
So you have a really short timeline. Today is Tuesday, and that board meeting is scheduled for Friday. And just to be clear, so our viewers are up to date, at Friday when those recommendations are put forward, the board is also expected to vote on those recommendations.
Yes.
Okay. So by Friday, the decision as to what will be the ways of cutting back on costs at the university will be decided, and that will include perhaps salary cuts, and I mean, we don't know the details either. We only got a bit of it yesterday. So I'm trying to understand where you go from here, because you have several things. I mean, it's trying to get a representative on the board. It's trying to get yourself recognized as the bargaining agent for the faculty. The entire process for the protocol was circumvented. Are you asking now to go back to the start and have it done through that mechanism? What is your, because we are on a timeline, and I think across the country people are taking cuts. So I want to be clear, I want to hear clearly your position in terms of how this matter is dealt with, and understand the short timeline that you're on as well.
We're willing to listen in this process. Of course, we have to have rules of engagement. I mean, okay, if you feel that the process that's in the handbook is too long and it's not convenient now because of timeline, then provide something for us that we can mutually agree on. Let us follow the principles of consultation. Let us follow the principles of meaningful engagement. Every single consultation has to have a process, it has to have a proceeding, it has to have rules of how we're going to vote, how we're going to agree, and that has to be documented and made available. That has not been proposed to us, and that's exactly what we're asking. If the process is too long, the way you see it, then that's fine. Okay, but give us something we can work with. Right now, we're asking that if this does not happen, then it is impossible. It is impossible for us to say, I agree with what you're saying. I don't know, Ms. Koyar, if, for example, if you go to court and they accuse you of some crime and they sentence you to death, you would like to know that you are being sentenced appropriately and the evidence is there for you to be accused of such crime. We don't see the evidence. We don't know, and that is the hard part. They keep saying, "Oh, we gave it to you. We gave it to you. We gave it to you." What we're asking for is exactly the information that the president used to make his decisions to declare financial exigency. If all he used was 2018, 2019, 2017, 2018, 2018, 2019 to make that decision, and then I have to say that maybe the trouble that we're in is prior to this. But again, I'm saying the word maybe because I do not know, and we cannot make this decision right now. There's this big talk about, oh well, we're worried about the students' number of enrollment coming in. Why are we so concerned about it? There are other students at the university who are still going to continue going to school, whose needs we're going to have to be able to be met because we have an agreement with them. And this is something that's very fundamental for us to keep in mind. Chris, I'll let you go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that instead of us spending all of this energy simply insisting on these things like transparency and consultation that should be given in the equation, we ought to be putting all of this creative energy into developing these proposals, encouraging our faculties and staff to develop proposals and craft policies that would help ensure boosting student enrollment, figuring out how we can be more efficient in the different services that we provide. But it seems that this very just initial demand for transparency and consultative process that has been denied us is consuming all the energy. It just beggars belief. Yeah. So that's the only other issue I'd like to add. Yeah. It also concerns the future of our national university, but I'll defer to June.
Okay.
Yes, can I add, Marlene, asked where do we go from here? Yes, we're meeting with our membership on a daily basis. Membership, they're properly informed, they're engaged, they're ready. We'll keep the pressure on. We are not going to let down because we believe as employees, even if they do not want to recognize us as a union, as employees, we have a right to be engaged. We have a right to know. So yes, we don't know exactly what our strategy will be or what our activities will be, but I can tell you that there are lots of things on the table and faculty is engaged, we are alert, we are ready, and we are not going to let the pressure down.
And, you know, and I'm just going back to Marlene's question. I mean, I think that, of course, time is going to be the major concern here because even if you if you get access to some of the things that you're demanding, is it enough time for you to, one, review the information, two, engage with your members so that you can meaningfully contribute to a meeting that's taking place where decisions are being made as soon as Friday of this week?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I would just add to address that issue, that the membership have already been sending in lots of proposals. We've got lots of suggestions from the membership. My email account is flooded with all kinds of things, but there's no assurance that any of these things will be taken seriously if we put it forward. Mm-hmm. You know, our legitimacy is in question in the board's view. If we even provide some recommendations, how seriously will they be taken? You know, they might just be cast aside. There's no guarantee that they'll be properly considered. Yeah. There's just no framework that we're operating under here, no agreed upon process. So even to forward these recommendations, as the board and the president has repeatedly asked, seems disingenuous given the fact that our place on the table is not clear.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and just one final, straightforward, stating the obvious question. Is it that the union is against taking a pay cut? We know that the subvention's been cut. We know that the fees are proposed to be reduced. We know we're in tough economic times. Is this a way of the union trying to delay or not participate in a salary cut?
in the first letter that I penned with Dr. DeShield and sent to the president on June 2nd, we started that letter saying that we have been listening to the statement of the Prime Minister. We have been listening to his reports about all the impacts of COVID-19. We told the president in that letter that we have heard that there is a note from the financial secretary, which I think was posted on Facebook. And we said to him that we understand that there will be impacts and there will be changes at the university. We are asking that you kindly engage us and follow the protocol in the faculty and staff handbook. This was on June 2nd. Yeah. We know something is going to happen, but what we want to ensure is that whatever impact happens, whatever adjustment is made, that the pain is felt across the board, that everybody contributes evenly, that everybody makes the same sacrifice to make sure that the university stay afloat and that the integrity of the university to do its principal business stays open. Yes. In principle, the president wants the same thing and we want the same thing. But the process by which we have to do this has to be transparent and it has to be legitimate. And right now, that is where our problem is. Right. We have no objection to saying we're going to have to give up something, but let us know what we're going to give up and how we're going to do that. What if they're going to close off a program? We need to have a protocol to say, which program we're going to close, how many students are going to get affected, how will this affect the university? Because are we going to close the program just for the next 3 weeks or the next 3 months or 3 years, or are we going to close it forever? These is why these things have to be transparent, because this is why in the faculty and staff handbook, this is labeled as protocols for exigent and reorganization of the university. We don't need a pandemic to use this process, but this pandemic showed us how incredibly important this is. And if we let this go now, I guarantee you in the future, anybody can come in administration and say, you know what, we're in exigency, so we're going to let you go. And we have no say in this because a precedent has been set. And this handbook has been used almost on a daily basis of administration at the university. When it's convenient, it is used, right?
So we are out of time. Yeah, we're out of time. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but we are out of time, and I do appreciate you being able to address that final point. Of course, we have been following, and we will continue to follow the situation, especially as Friday approaches as the date set for the board meeting where the recommendations will be put forward. Thank you for joining us this morning. We do appreciate it.
Thank you very much for inviting us, and we certainly will keep updating you all as our situation develops.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that ends off that conversation. We actually have some information we wanted to share with you this morning. Since we started the show, we've been getting reports of a heavy presence of security forces in the south side of Belize City. And that was really as of 6 a.m. this morning. So we have some images already of police presence. And we have been trying to get confirmation as to what was happening. I think the first assumption people had was that perhaps we were entering into another state of emergency. However, we've gotten a quote from the PR for the police department, Douglas Hyde, which was facilitated to our newsroom, and he is saying there is no state of emergency for gangs and that the officers on the street are part of the crime-fighting strategy that was announced during Monday's police press conference by Assistant Commissioner of Police Alden Dawson as a response to the gun violence that occurred over the weekend. So if you were wondering why you're seeing an increase in the police presence, that's what we have been told so far. But of course, we'll have all the details in our newscast tonight at 6. And with that, we're going to return to our own programming. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll find out about the Introduction to Digital Marketing Seminar. Please stay tuned.